All right, in this video, what I want to do is pick up from where we left off with our ForEach, where we put it in a list and then in a navigation view. And I want to add a few more capabilities. One is the ability to swipe and delete over here. So normally you would be able to swipe rather than navigate in. If I were to swipe to the left, then it should open up a delete button here, and then I tap on it and I can delete an item. The other thing I want to do is be able to rearrange these or resort them. So this is really easy to do with modifiers on the ForEach. So even though it's in a list and you might suspect that, well, maybe those modifiers should be on the list, it turns out they need to be on the ForEach itself. And so what we're going to do is we see a ForEach here, and we want to get to that ending bracket so that we can add the modifier for deletion, which is called onDelete. And so we can do that by going down to here, and notice if I just move my cursor over that bracket, I see that it's the start of the bracket here and the ending bracket here for the ForEach. The other thing I could do is if I go over here to the ForEach, right there, I can hit that elision button, and I can collapse my code down that's inside the ForEach, and I now see very clearly the opening bracket and the closing bracket. But I'll go ahead and leave this, double tap there, leave it open. I know this is where I want to be, and this is where I'm going to add this onDelete modifier. So we start typing .onDelete, and it gives me the one completion that I can pick from, so I'll pick it. And what it does is it creates a argument here, so it's going to call onDelete. The perform argument actually is another function. That's this function right here. This is what's going to get called, and we're going to implement whatever we need to implement for deletion. Now, I'm going to just take this out for now so that we're not going to worry about doing anything. But let's see what happens now that we have this onDelete modifier on here. So over here, we see that we are running, and we have a green on our preview. So remember when I would swipe here before, it would try to navigate in. Now, if I swipe, look what happens. I get the delete button. And all I did was add this onDelete right here onto the ForEach. So this is put onto each element of the ForEach, the onDelete. And if I click delete, it looks like it deletes, but look, it comes back right away. And the reason for that is because even though we're deleting and it's delete, the animation makes it look like it deletes, because this code here doesn't actually delete anything from our array. When we go back and refresh, we still have all of these elements in the array, and therefore it wasn't really deleted. So what we need to do is in the onDelete, we need to delete the element in the array that this is pointing to. Now, what it's going to pass is what's called an index set. And an index set is just a collection or a set of integers that point to the various indexes in the array that you're going to delete. So this really supports, for example, if you were to check off 5 or 6 or 10 things and then say delete, this index set would have those items. If you checked off 10 different things, it would have 10 different indexes there that it would delete. But in this case, we're only doing one, so the index set's only going to have one. But there is an operation on an array that works with index sets already, which makes this really easy. So what we're going to do is type in favorite cities, .remove, and then if we look at the different options here for remove, I can say at, which is at a specific index, but since we were passed an index set, I can say at offsets. If I click at offsets, we see the description down here saying that it takes an index set, and that's what we're being passed as an index set. So that's perfect. So that's the one we want. So I'm going to hit enter there. And then what is being passed in is index set. That's going to go here. And now I've added my remove to my array. Because I've done that, I should be able to delete and have it stay deleted. So let's try this. We're still blue here. Everything's good. I'm going to swipe to the left, hit delete, and this time the deletion stuck. And the reason was that this was called and it actually removed it from the array. Let's try it again. We can go do the last one, Detroit, and hit delete, and now we're down to 3. So this is how you do deletion. So the next thing I want to show you is how do you move things around or rearrange things. And the way you're going to do that is with the onMove. So just like we have onDelete here, we're just going to attach another modifier called onMove. I'll hit enter here, and it's going to complete this function call, which is right here. This is what we're going to supply. And notice it's passing two things. Now it's saying what needs to move and where does it need to go to. So that's why there's two arguments here rather than one. One for onDelete because we're only deleting a single set of things. Here, we're taking a set of things that we're moving and we're moving them to a new point, which is that new offset. So again, I can just take this out, and now what would be interesting is if we could just grab and move something. So we can't move anything yet, and the reason is because we're not really in what's called edit mode. When we're in edit mode, it's going to show you not only the ability to delete, but it's also going to show you the handles that you can use to rearrange things. So let's get into edit mode. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do that with a button. So when we tap a button, we're going to go into edit mode. Now, it turns out there is something called an edit button that just does this for us. We just need to get it displayed somewhere so we can tap it. So we want to add this button in. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, the right place to put it is up here in the top right. That would be considered logical for that, and that's part of the toolbar. And so we can get access to the toolbar on this entire list, if you will, for the navigation view by adding another modifier onto list, and it's called toolbar. So I'm going to type in toolbar and then open and close bracket. So we've added our toolbar. Now we want to add toolbar items. So we can start typing toolbar, and we see that there's an item right here, toolbar item. So we can hit that and then open paren, and then it's Xcode's going to complete for us, and we have 4 different completions here. And this one, placement and content, is the one that we're most interested in. So I'm going to hit that. So that's going to give me a placement argument, and content, which is basically, this is another closure. That's going to be our function that's going to be called to return elements that we want in the toolbar. So for toolbar placement, if I hit enter here and I hit dot, it's going to give me various completions. And the one I want is primary action. So I'm going to click on that. And what that's going to say is the placement of whatever I describe here is going to go in the primary section, which is up here in the upper right. And then I'll tab over and highlight that closure, hit enter, and I'm now in here where I can put code. So the code that I want is basically I want a button, but I don't want any button. I want an edit button, and it turns out the edit button is just a button that's already been pre-configured for us so that when you tap it, it puts us in edit mode. So if I say edit button here, like that, and I hit build, we get a build succeeded, and we see now that we have an edit button over here in our toolbar. And that's key because now watch what happens when I click edit. So I'm not running yet, so let's go ahead and click the run button. And then this says it looks like I need to resume. So let's go ahead and make sure we've resumed. So I have a green and I have a blue here, and I click edit. Now notice what happens. It gives me all of these delete spots here, which we can delete, but it also gives me these little hamburger icons over here at the right, which indicate that I can rearrange things. So for example, I could move Boston up here, and I could move Detroit to the top. And when I'm done, I click done, but you notice they all ran back to their original positions. Just like delete, since we didn't do anything in here, then the array hasn't been modified. And therefore, as soon as we get out of edit mode, it goes back to whatever this was set at. So what we want to do is when we do the move, we actually do want to move these items around in the array. And it turns out there's a function already attached to arrays that will do this for us. So we can say favorite cities dot move, and notice the first completion right there is from offsets to offset. Well, the from offsets is these indices right here, and the to offset is the new offset. So now we've actually are moving these items in the array when this is called. So now let's try this again. If I hit edit and let's say I'm going to move Boston up to, or Detroit up to the top, and I say done, notice it stays there. And so that's how easy it is to rearrange things. So what we covered here is we can delete or move things around in our list based on adding these modifiers onDelete and onMove onto our ForEach. And we can also add a toolbar modifier onto the list, which applies to our navigation view. And we can create a toolbar item right here, which basically we can say whatever we want this to be. This didn't have to be a button, but in this case, we wanted it to be a button, and we wanted it to be a button that already has some built-in functionality, which is the edit button, and that changes our mode from edit mode to not edit mode. And when you're in edit mode, you get those hamburger icons. Again, we hit edit, we kind of get this display, and when we're not in edit mode, we go back to our normal display. And so that's what this edit button produces and does for us. And that's how easy it is to sort of delete items and move items around in our list.